Top 5 worst arcade beat 'em ups. Beat 'em ups are perhaps the best genre in the world for relieving stress. Simply mashing on some bad guys over and over again, it's so satisfying. So it's no wonder then that there have been hundreds of them over the years, some all successful that went on to create big name series on home consoles, whilst others simply faded to obscurity. Some of them, however, are so bad that nobody should be increasing their reputation, and they deserve the fate of obscurity. However, today I'm going to reach my hand into the murky underbelly of the arcade and pull out the 5 absolute worst arcade beat 'em ups in my opinion. Onwards with the list. Number 5, Ninja Clowns. This game is an absolute mess. It seems a novel idea, mixing ninjas with clowns. The crux could be using all sorts of wacky and weird items as weapons, giving the game humour and action at the same time. However, Ninja Clowns fails on every level. The title is actually quite misleading, because the game has almost nothing to do with ninjas. The character is simply a clown. I guess they put in the word ninjas because you're fighting, but clowns have fists, so they also have the ability to fight. Occasionally, your character just seems to fly all over the place and do whatever the fuck he wants. Like, look at this madness. You'd think a clown-based game would be bright and colourful, but damn did they miss that party. The entire game is a disgusting mix of greys and browns. It's almost offensive to look at, with some levels, such as one set in a theme park, being nauseating. The enemies are just as bad, with most simply being bland or boring, but some, such as this fat lady that throws up on you, or a chicken woman that shits eggs, being downright disgusting. The gameplay is just as redundant. You can punch and kick, and that's about it, with the weapons being pretty boring to say the least, and sometimes it barely even has animation. It simply fails on every level. Bad graphics, bad gameplay, and bad music, not to mention a wasted potential. Number 4, Avengers. The first thing to note about this game is that it was made by Capcom. Yeah, the company that's made some of the best arcade games of all times also has some stinkers. The game is a top-down perspective in the style of most shmups of the era, which could have provided a fresh approach to the genre, but unfortunately, all it does is water down the already basic gameplay. The graphics are unremarkable, but passable. There's not too much to note there. The gameplay though is just redundant. Everyone dies in one hit like in shmups, and the enemy can also grab hold of you and take down your life bar ridiculously fast. Then there are the bosses. Capcom seem to have forgotten that you don't have any kind of ranged attack, as they are insanely hard to get close to and actually attack. The game also commits a cardinal sin of arcade beat 'em ups. You can't continue where you died by putting in another coin. No matter what happens, you're sent back to the beginning of the game, and that just sucks. It's not the worst game on this list, but it is clearly a victim of a fundamentally flawed design choice that should never have made it all the way through development. Number 3, Hatchin. With a name like Hatchin, you'd think it'd be a game about sneezing, but really, it's a fighter that takes place in China, where you play as a golden-haired kung fu fighter going on some sort of rampage. The graphics themselves are not completely awful, but they look like they belong on an early PC title or on the Game Gear, not a full arcade game. This game gets this spot purely because of the gameplay. The first thing you notice when you play is that the hit detection is awful. You'll keep missing the enemies and have no idea why. The enemies themselves are completely forgettable and downright annoying, with these shitty little monkey men that jump all around the screen. The character also has one of the slowest walking animations I've seen in a game of this genre. It's just weird. However, he can jump all the way across the screen, which definitely makes sense. The only redeeming factor is that you can throw the enemies straight at you, which I'll admit is pretty damn funny. Number 2, Brute Force. Now we're really starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel. Brute Force is a game that works on almost no levels. It looks and plays like a bad Commodore 64 game. The perspective is way out, which means there's almost no detail on the characters, and the scenery is so poorly designed that it in no way makes up for this. You'd think they would have given you a large field of vision, because there would be a lot going on the screen, but no, it's redundant. Your character has 2 attacks, a roundhouse kick, and this ridiculous long jump where he pelts himself forward Superman style into whatever's in front of him. Look at this. It's one of the most stupid attacks I've ever seen in a video game. It makes no sense at all. I can't tell if it was meant to be funny or serious, but it's so out of place, it's almost surreal. Apart from that, you can pick up some various weapons that will pretty much do the same thing, and guns as well. The gameplay is monotonous. The graphics are god awful, and there's literally no reason why anyone should play this game. So then, why did it only get to number 2 on this list? Well, brace yourselves. Number 1. Guardians of the Hood. Holy shit, here we have it. The worst arcade beat 'em up I have ever played. There is just so much wrong with this, I don't know where to start. Perhaps let's start with the name, Guardians of the Hood, alluding to some kind of weird Power Ranger style force that steps up to fight the gangsters that roam the urban cityscapes. It's one of the weirdest ideas for a game I've ever heard. The graphics are simply hideous. It uses the Mortal Kombat style of pre-rendering human actors, but the implementation is so botched that the game is almost offensive to look at. Couple that with the grey and poorly detailed scenery, and it adds up to a game that gives you eye strain just by playing it. The music is also just as determined to hurt you, sounding like a cheap generic Mega Drive soundtrack. The gameplay is of course also awful, only having a few basic attacks that often seem to miss because of awkward hit detection, and some really weird things like being able to use a homeless person as a weapon. That's messed up! There is also this bonus stage where you fight your teammate for an extra life, and I have to say it may be the worst one-on-one fighter I've ever played, and this is inside the worst beat 'em up, so that's quite an accomplishment. Oh, and did I mention, if you lose the bonus stage, you get a game over! That just creams the crop of this game. It has absolutely no redeeming factors, and if you ever see it in some kind of arcade, stay well away. Well, those are my 5 worst arcade beat 'em ups. Let me know what yours are, and make sure to share and subscribe. Goodbye!